I kind of understood Men in Black a little bit, but I didn't want to make Men in Black that was the next year after Independence Day. So I didn't want to make two Alien movies back to back.
You've watched it dozens of times. You can quote every line. You know the flash, the suits, the aliens hiding in plain sight. But you don't know Men in Black at all, because what happened behind those black sunglasses, the feuds, the secrets, the near disasters that almost killed the entire production, has been buried for 28 years. What you're about to discover will permanently change how you see this film. Some revelations are shocking, some are dangerous, and some explain why this movie exists at all. Ready to have your memory neuralized? Secret number 1. Will Smith was never supposed to star. Chris O'Donnell was officially cast as Agent J. Not considered, not auditioned, cast. He'd already done costume fittings, table reads, and weapons training. The role was his. Columbia Pictures spent 8 months pursuing him exclusively. Marketing plans were built around his face. Promotional materials were being designed. Everything was ready. Then 14 days before filming began, he quit. Why would anyone walk away from a $90 million blockbuster 2 weeks before production? His agent had just watched Batman and Robin crash at the box office. O'Donnell was terrified that another sidekick role would permanently typecast him. His agent delivered the ultimatum: "This will destroy your career as a leading man." O'Donnell believed it. But here's the insane part. Columbia Pictures had no backup plan. Think about that. A $90 million production, 2 weeks from filming, and they had no other actor lined up. The panic was immediate. The studio called every young actor in Hollywood. David Schwimmer turned it down for Friends. Matthew Perry? Same reason. Brendan Fraser was committed elsewhere. Will Smith? He wasn't even on the list. Studio executives thought he was too comedic for the role. They wanted someone more serious, more traditional. That's when Smith's agent went rogue. He bypassed normal channels and called Columbia directly, demanding one audition. The studio resisted. They'd already eliminated Smith, but his agent wouldn't back down. So Will Smith flew to New York on his own dime. No studio-paid travel, no guaranteed audition, just faith in himself. And here's the chilling detail. Smith walked into that audition wearing a full black suit he'd purchased specifically for the meeting. Nobody asked him to dress up. He just knew. Then he did something that changed cinema history. He improvised the entire "I make this look good" attitude that became Agent J's signature swagger. That confidence, that charm, none of it was in the script. It was pure Will Smith gambling everything on 15 minutes of improvisation. Director Barry Sonnenfeld was instantly convinced. But Columbia executives remained skeptical. They had 48 hours before they'd have to delay production, costing millions. They gave Smith a 48-hour deadline to accept. He signed immediately. Can you imagine Men in Black with Chris O'Donnell? Every joke you love, every moment of chemistry, it almost never happened. Secret number 2. Tommy Lee Jones refused to speak to Will Smith for 4 weeks. You've watched the tension between Agent K and Agent J. That awkwardness, that friction, the feeling that K genuinely doesn't want this rookie around. You thought it was brilliant acting. It wasn't acting. It was real. Tommy Lee Jones deliberately refused to speak to Will Smith off-camera for the first 4 weeks of filming. Not a misunderstanding, not an exaggeration. Complete, calculated silence. Smith would try to make small talk between takes. Jones would stare at him silently, then walk away without responding. Smith would attempt jokes to build rapport. Jones wouldn't even acknowledge them. They wouldn't eat lunch together. Jones limited every interaction to only what was absolutely necessary for filming. Will Smith later described feeling genuinely hurt and confused by Jones's coldness. Crew members started whispering. Some thought Jones actually disliked Smith. Others worried the film would suffer from their complete lack of chemistry. But here's what nobody knew. Tommy Lee Jones was employing an advanced method acting technique. He wanted Smith to feel like a rookie being dismissed by a veteran. Exactly like Agent J's experience with Agent K. He wanted authentic awkwardness, genuine desperation, real emotional discomfort. And it worked. Every moment of tension you see on screen, every time Jay seems uncertain if Kay respects him, that's not acting. That's Will Smith experiencing real emotional distance from his co-star. Jones never told Sonnenfeld. He never told producers. For 4 weeks, everyone thought they had a dysfunctional nightmare. Then, Jones invited Smith to dinner and explained everything. He'd been creating authentic emotional distance that couldn't be faked. Once Smith understood, they became friends. But here's the terrifying part. If Jones had miscalculated, if Smith had complained to producers or threatened to quit, the entire $90 million film could have collapsed. Jones was risking everything on a method acting experiment he'd never discussed with anyone. Secret number 3. The main villain was completely redesigned. 3 weeks into filming. 3 weeks into filming, Barry Sonnenfeld watched the dailies and realized something catastrophic. The bug sucked. The original Edgar the Bug design was a traditional insectoid creature, hard exoskeleton, multiple eyes, standard monster movie fare. And it was boring, generic, not scary, not funny, just forgettable. Sonnenfeld halted production immediately and demanded Industrial Light and Magic completely redesign the character. 3 weeks into filming, millions already spent, scenes already shot, and the director said, "Scrap everything. Start over." Here's the chaos this created. ILM had already spent $2.3 million on the original design. They'd built animatronic components, programmed digital effects, all worthless. Vincent D'Onofrio had trained for weeks to move like an insect, using the original design as reference. That training became useless overnight. Columbia Pictures was furious. They'd approved the original design, signed off on the budget, and now their director was demanding they throw away millions and start over. But Sonnenfeld held firm. If we keep this design, the movie fails. Here's the redesign that saved the film. Sonnenfeld wanted something deeply disturbing, a human body worn like an uncomfortable suit, something that moved wrong, something that looked almost right but fundamentally incorrect, an alien wearing Edgar-like ill-fitting clothes. ILM had 9 days to create this new concept. They assigned over 80 artists working around the clock, creating new designs, new animatronics, new digital models, all simultaneously. D'Onofrio had to completely relearn his performance, the way he walked, the way he moved his head, the way his body seemed to fight against itself, all developed in days. The cost? The bug redesign added $4.7 million to the budget and caused 12 days of production delays. But without that redesign, Men in Black would be forgotten. The original bug would have been another generic monster. The redesign created an icon. Secret number 4. Will Smith's most iconic scene was completely improvised. "We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger." Everyone remembers that line. It's one of the most quotable moments in the film. Here's what you didn't know. It wasn't in the script. None of it. The scene where Agent J confronts the Arquillian prince about Earth's destruction was supposed to be one line. "We need to find the galaxy." That's it. Barry Sonnenfeld felt the scene was too flat, too simple, so he told Will Smith, "Make it more urgent." Smith took that direction and improvised the entire 3-minute rant. The script supervisor later revealed she stopped trying to track what Smith was saying because it was completely unscripted. But here's where it gets complicated. Tommy Lee Jones had memorized specific responses to scripted dialogue. When Smith improvised entirely different questions and statements, Jones had to abandon his prepared lines and react authentically. Watch the scene again. You can see Jones processing in real time. Columbia tested 2 versions with audiences, the scripted version and Smith's improvised version. The improvised version tested 37% higher, but executives initially demanded the scripted version be used. Why? They'd paid writers for specific dialogue. They couldn't just let actors make up their own lines. Sonnenfeld fought them. He screened both versions for studio heads. The improvised version won unanimously. Reshooting surrounding scenes to match Smith's improvisation added $217,000 to the budget. But that scene became one of the film's most memorable sequences entirely because Will Smith ignored the script. Secret number 5. 7 neuralizers were stolen in Hollywood's biggest prop heist. The Neuralizer, the flashy thing, the most iconic prop in Men in Black. Columbia commissioned 15 working neuralizers at $47,000 each. Why so expensive? They contained real LED technology, motorized components, and precision engineering. Total investment, $705,000. Then 7 of them disappeared. Not lost, not misplaced, stolen. Here's the first theft. 3 neuralizers vanished from a locked prop truck during location filming in New York City. Security footage showed an unidentified person with set access entering the truck during a lunch break. Police investigated. Nothing was recovered. Here's the second theft. 2 neuralizers went missing from the Sony Studios prop department in Los Angeles. An internal investigation suggested it was an inside job, but no one was ever charged. Here's the third incident. 2 more neuralizers disappeared during the final week of filming. By this point, Columbia hired private security specifically to guard the remaining props. It didn't matter. They vanished anyway. But here's where it gets insane. All 7 stolen neuralizers appeared on the black market within months, selling to collectors for between $80,000 and $120,000 each. Someone stole props worth $47,000 each and sold them for nearly triple that amount. This wasn't opportunistic theft. This was organized crime. Columbia sued multiple collectors to recover the props. They won only 2 cases. The other 5 neuralizers remain in private collections to this day. The total cost to the studio, over $300,000 in investigations, legal fees, and replacement props. Here's the question nobody wants to answer. If the thief had set access and detailed knowledge of prop security, were they part of the production? The investigation went cold. The case remains open. Secret number 6. Rip Torn's DUI arrest that was buried. Rip Torn played Zed, the stern, no-nonsense chief of Men in Black. On screen, he's authoritative, commanding. Off-screen, during production, he was arrested for drunk driving. During the 4th week of filming, Torn crashed his car into a production vehicle on his way to set. He spent 8 hours in jail before Columbia's lawyers bailed him out and negotiated for charges to be reduced. But here's the detail that made it problematic. Torn was legally required to attend court hearings and alcohol education classes during filming. The production had to schedule around his court dates. Barry Sonnenfeld's solution? Rewrite Zed's role to have fewer scenes, but longer individual takes. Scenes that would normally be shot over weeks were compressed into 4-day marathons where Torn worked 12-hour days to complete all his footage. But here's the cover-up. Columbia's publicity department convinced media outlets to suppress the arrest story by offering exclusive interview access to Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. The strategy worked. Most entertainment press never reported Torn's arrest until years later. Rescheduling to accommodate Torn's legal issues added 19 shooting days to the schedule and approximately $870,000 in overtime costs. The studio considered firing him and reshooting his scenes, but Torn's performance was so strong that they decided the expense was worth it. Secret number 7. The set that nearly collapsed on everyone. The massive MIB headquarters, that sleek, retro-futuristic command center, was built inside an abandoned airplane hangar at the former Tustin Marine Corps Air Station in California. 3 weeks into filming, structural engineers discovered the hangar's roof was deteriorating and could potentially collapse. Production was evacuated immediately. Here's the inspection that revealed disaster. The hangar was built in 1942. Over 50 years later, it had extensive wood rot in its support beams that previous inspections had missed. Engineers calculated there was a 40% chance of catastrophic roof failure within 3 months. But here's the impossible decision Columbia faced. The MIB headquarters set cost $6.2 million to build. Moving it would cost approximately $4 million and require 6 weeks. Reinforcing the existing hangar would cost $2.8 million and take 4 weeks. Columbia chose reinforcement. Over 200 construction workers installed steel support columns throughout the hangar while filming continued around them. Some scenes actually show the support beams in the background, digitally removed in post-production. But here's the near disaster nobody publicized. During the final week of filming in that location, a section of roof did partially collapse at 3 a.m. when no one was present. The production had finished filming just 11 hours earlier. Let that sink in. 11 hours. If the collapse had happened during shooting, dozens of cast and crew could have been killed. Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, Linda Fiorentino, Barry Sonnenfeld. Men in Black could have become Hollywood's deadliest production disaster. Secret number 8. Vincent D'Onofrio's health crisis. Vincent D'Onofrio gained 50 pounds for the Edgar the Bug role. Why? He wanted the human host body to look swollen and uncomfortable, like the alien was growing inside, stretching the skin from within. He ate approximately 10,000 calories daily for 8 weeks before filming began. Then during the 3rd week of filming, D'Onofrio experienced chest pains and shortness of breath during an action sequence. The set medic called an ambulance immediately, fearing a heart attack. Tests revealed he hadn't had a heart attack, but the rapid weight gain had elevated his blood pressure to dangerous levels and put severe strain on his cardiovascular system. Physicians told D'Onofrio that continuing at his current weight could cause permanent heart damage or actual cardiac arrest. They recommended he lose the weight immediately and withdraw from the film. D'Onofrio refused. Think about that. A doctor tells you continuing could kill you, and you refuse. Here's the compromise. The production hired a full-time cardiac nurse to monitor D'Onofrio's vitals between every take. He was placed on blood pressure medication and a medically supervised diet that slowly reduced his weight while maintaining the bloated appearance for continuity. D'Onofrio's medical care and production delays caused by his hospitalization added $342,000 to the budget. After filming wrapped, it took him 11 months to lose the weight. He later called the physical transformation the most dangerous thing I've ever done as an actor. Secret number 9. The theme song was created in 4 hours. Here Come the Men in Black. You know every word. It hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, sold over 2.7 million copies. It's one of the most iconic theme songs in film history. Here's what you didn't know. It was created in 4 hours. The original theme song was an orchestral composition by Danny Elfman that Columbia executives found too serious for a comedy. They demanded a hip-hop song featuring Will Smith to capitalize on his music career. Producers were given 4 weeks to write, record, and produce a complete theme song. They completed it in 3 weeks and delivered it to RCA executives, who rejected it as not commercial enough. This happened 6 days before the film's release date. Here's the panic solution. Will Smith, composer Patrice Rushen, and producer Polk flew to New York and locked themselves in a recording studio for one 17-hour marathon session. They wrote the iconic Men in Black theme in approximately 4 hours, recorded it in 6 hours, and mixed it in 7 hours. The song was delivered to RCA 2 days before the deadline. Smith incorporated actual dialogue from the film into the lyrics, creating a meta-commentary where Agent J raps about being in Men in Black. This wasn't planned. It was improvisation born from exhaustion and time pressure. The 4-hour emergency replacement became more successful than anyone imagined possible. Secret number 10. Tommy Lee Jones was in constant pain. Tommy Lee Jones's deadpan delivery as Agent K became legendary. That stiff, emotionless expression, that robotic precision, that absolute economy of facial movement. Here's what you didn't know. He was in physical pain. Jones underwent emergency dental surgery during the 2nd week of filming after breaking a molar on craft services food. The procedure required extensive work on his jaw, leaving him in significant pain and limiting his facial mobility for weeks. Jones's characteristically stiff Agent K delivery wasn't entirely acting. His face genuinely hurt when he tried to make expressions, so he minimized facial movement. But here's what made it worse. Jones was taking prescription pain medication that made him genuinely drowsy and flat. His slightly vacant stare and slow speech pattern in many scenes came from being medicated while filming. Director Barry Sonnenfeld later admitted he didn't realize how much Jones was struggling until he saw him grimacing between takes, The studio wanted to delay filming until Jones recovered fully. Jones refused, arguing the delay would cost millions. Instead, the production modified his dialogue to require less mouth movement and reframed scenes to shoot him from angles that hid his facial swelling. Here's the irony. Jones's performance became iconic specifically because of limitations he was trying to hide. The robotic precision that defined Agent K came partly from an actor in genuine physical discomfort, trying to minimize facial movement. Secret number 11. Frank was 7. Different pugs. Frank wasn't one pug. He was 7 different dogs used for different shots. Sitting, walking, close-ups, the smoking scene, talking scenes, and 2 backups. Each had different handlers and trainers. Their facial markings, sizes, and ear positions varied slightly. A dedicated makeup artist spent hours making them look identical on camera, matching fur patterns and creating consistent appearances. Animal handling for Frank alone cost $378,000, more than some actors' salaries. After release, all 7 pugs were adopted by crew members who'd bonded with them during filming. Then came the lawsuits. Multiple crew members claimed to own the real Frank, leading to legal disputes over which dog was the official star and who had rights to promotional appearances. Secret number 12. Linda Fiorentino, replaced. Sarah Jessica Parker, mid-production. Sarah Jessica Parker was originally cast as Laurel and filmed for 2 weeks before quitting. She couldn't handle Smith's constant improvisation, calling it unprofessional and disruptive. She demanded Smith stop improvising, or she'd quit. The production refused to limit Smith's creative freedom. Parker left. Fiorentino got the call Friday afternoon. She was offered the role Saturday morning. She filmed Monday, one weekend, to prepare for a major role in a $90 million blockbuster. Instead of fighting Smith's improvisation, she matched it, creating electric chemistry because both were improvising together. Parker's footage was completely scrapped. Cost $1.2 million in wasted production time and reshoots. Secret number 13. The ending was rewritten 6 weeks before release. The original climax featured a bug battle in subway tunnels, Agent K dying without being returned, and Agent J flooding the tunnels to kill the bug. Test audiences hated it. They found it claustrophobic, confusing, and unsatisfying. The emotional payoff wasn't there. Ed Solomon had 72 hours to write a new ending. He created the observatory setting, the galaxy on Orion's collar, and K being regurgitated alive. This happened 6 weeks before the theatrical release. Building new sets and creating new effects required 3 weeks of additional filming. Cost $13.3 million. ILM assigned 150 artists working around the clock on the new ending. They completed it 9 days before the premiere. The new ending tested 62% higher with audiences. That last-minute rewrite saved the film's reception. Secret number 14. Will Smith's suit was 30% CGI. Smith refused to wear the heavy wool suit after 2 days of filming. It caused profuse sweating under the hot lights. He couldn't perform comfortably or deliver his best work while miserable. The solution? Smith wore a lightweight cotton suit that looked similar. Then ILM digitally replaced it with proper wool texture in post-production. Digital suit replacement cost $2.7 million, one of the film's most expensive invisible effects. ILM had to create digital fabric that moved realistically, matched lighting conditions, and appeared identical to Jones's practical wool suit in every scene. Most viewers have no idea they're watching CGI clothing in many scenes. Secret number 15. The alien autopsy used real cow organs. Sonnenfeld wanted authentic reactions from the actors during the alien autopsy scene, so they used real cow intestines, stomach, liver, and lungs from a slaughterhouse. Under hot studio lights, the smell was overwhelming and grew worse throughout the day. Multiple crew members vomited. They had to evacuate the soundstage twice for ventilation. Fiorentino required a medical mask with mentholatum to continue filming. Here's the problem. They violated health codes by bringing in animal organs without proper permits. LA County health inspectors fined Columbia $73,000. Professional sanitization cost an additional $42,000 because the smell had permeated the walls, requiring specialized cleaning. Secret number 16. Spielberg tried removing his name from the credits. Steven Spielberg brought Men in Black to Columbia as executive producer. After watching the first cut, he was furious and demanded his name be removed. Why? Spielberg had envisioned a serious sci-fi thriller in the vein of Jaws, tense, scary, dramatic.
You've done both. You made big blockbusters with big stars, and you made big blockbusters with no stars.
Sonnenfeld delivered straight comedy with action elements. Spielberg felt betrayed, believing the director had completely misunderstood the material. He threatened to publicly disavow the film, but his contract legally required his name in the credits. He couldn't just remove it. Columbia's solution? They showed him test screening data proving the comedy approach was far more commercial, and audiences loved it. The compromise? Spielberg's credit was minimized to the smallest contractual size and placed late in the credits where it would receive less attention. When Men in Black earned $589 million worldwide and became a cultural phenomenon, Spielberg publicly admitted he was wrong and praised Sonnenfeld's vision. Secret number 17. The post office scene used unwitting real customers. The post office scene was filmed in an actual operating USPS location in Manhattan with real customers who didn't know they were being filmed. Hidden cameras were disguised as security equipment. Several customers asked staff if it was Halloween or a promotional event. One elderly woman became frightened by the alien costumes and had to be calmed by crew members posing as postal workers. The problem? Filming people without their knowledge or consent violated privacy laws. Columbia had to track down everyone who appeared in the footage to get releases. They hired private investigators to identify over 100 people using timestamps, transaction records, and witness interviews. 47 people refused to sign releases and had to be digitally removed from the footage. Total cost for this stunt: $367,000 in legal fees, investigator costs, and digital removal work. Secret number 18. Jeeves was expanded. After his head explosion, got the biggest laugh. Tony Shalhoub's Jeeves was originally just one scene, the pawnshop interrogation where his head explodes. At the first test screening, that head explosion got the biggest, longest laugh of the entire film. Columbia immediately demanded Jeeves be expanded into multiple scenes. The problem? Solomon had 1 week to write additional scenes, and Shalhoub was committed to another project with only 3 days available. Rick Baker's effects team built 3 new exploding head mechanisms in 48 hours. Shalhoub filmed for 14 hours daily across 3 consecutive days, squeezing all his additional scenes into that narrow window. Jeeves became a beloved character with minimal screen time and returned in the sequel, all because a test audience laughed hard enough to change the film. Secret number 19. The Galaxy solution was added 3 days before release. The Galaxy on Orion's Belt, the film's cleverest twist, wasn't in the original screenplay. The original version had the galaxy hidden inside a spaceship. Test audiences found it confusing and anticlimactic. 3 days before they had to lock the final cut for theatrical distribution, they were still trying to fix the problem. Producer Walter Parks suggested something small, something no one would think to look at. Solomon pitched the cat collar idea in that conversation. ILM had exactly 72 hours to create the visual effects shots showing the galaxy. 40 effects artists worked without sleep, creating the miniature galaxy effect, compositing it onto the collar, and ensuring it matched the existing footage. The film had to be delivered in exactly 72 hours, or miss its release date. The galaxy shots were completed with 6 hours to spare. The film's most memorable plot twist was conceived, written, shot, and finished in 3 panic-filled days. Secret number 20. The film's aesthetic came from a canceled theme park ride. Production designer Bo Welch didn't create the Men in Black look from scratch. He based the entire aesthetic on concept art from a canceled 1995 Universal Studios attraction called The Men in Black Experience. The sleek technology, retro-futuristic headquarters, black and white color scheme all came from theme park Imagineers who designed the ride before it was canceled. But here's the twist. Universal owned the designs, while Columbia was producing the film. This created a complex licensing situation where Universal essentially had to lease their own concept art back to themselves through legal agreements between different divisions of the same parent company. The negotiation took 6 weeks and cost $300,000 in legal fees. After the film's massive success, Universal built the Men in Black Alien Attack ride at their Orlando park in 1999, finally bringing the original theme park concept to life. Secret number 21. The Neuralizer flash required seizure warnings. The Neuralizer's bright flash effect was so visually intense that Columbia had to add seizure warnings before test screenings. 3 audience members experienced adverse reactions during early previews: dizziness, disorientation, and in one case, a mild seizure. Medical personnel had to be called. The effects team was forced to reduce the flash intensity and frequency in post-production across every scene featuring the device. This required digital revision of dozens of shots. Cost: $89,000 in additional post-production work to make the signature prop safe for theatrical viewing. Secret number 22. Smith and Jones nearly quit over creative differences. Mid-production, Smith and Jones had a massive argument about improvisational approach versus script adherence that nearly destroyed the film. Jones felt Smith's constant ad-libbing was unprofessional and disrespectful to the writers. Smith felt Jones was too rigid and wasn't allowing the characters to breathe naturally. The tension escalated until both actors threatened to walk off the production. Sonnenfeld locked them in his trailer for 3 hours and wouldn't let them leave until they worked it out. The production shut down for half a day while the 2 stars hashed out their differences. Cost: $127,000 in lost production time, but it saved the film from complete collapse. Secret number 23. The morgue scene was filmed in a real morgue. To save money, the morgue scenes were shot in an actual Los Angeles County morgue with real cadavers in adjacent rooms. The smell and atmosphere were authentic because they were filming in a working facility. Fiorentino later described it as the most disturbing filming experience of my career because of the constant awareness that dead bodies were nearby. They filmed during overnight shifts when no active autopsies were scheduled. Despite the unsettling conditions, it saved $200,000 versus building a morgue set on a soundstage. Secret number 24. The alien languages were created completely blind. The alien languages throughout the film weren't scripted or planned. The sound designer was given only basic character descriptions. No plot details, no context, no character motivations. He created entirely random vocalizations based solely on whether a character seemed aggressive, friendly, or nervous. When Sonnenfeld heard the alien languages during editing and matched them to the actual scenes, he realized they accidentally matched the intended alien personalities and situations perfectly. The aggressive-sounding language happened to be used by hostile aliens. The fearful-sounding language fit scared aliens. Pure coincidence that saved weeks of sound redesign work and thousands of dollars. Secret number 25. The opening was completely reshot. The original opening sequence was much darker, showing graphic alien violence and body horror as agents dealt with an aggressive extraterrestrial. The September 1996 test screening revealed a problem. Audiences felt the opening set the wrong tone, making them expect a horror film rather than a comedy. Columbia ordered a complete reshoot with a lighter approach, creating the now iconic Border Patrol sequence that establishes the film's comedic tone while still demonstrating the alien threat. Cost: $1.1 million for the new opening, but it tested 45% better and properly set audience expectations for the film's genre-blending approach. Secret number 26. The sunglasses cost $1,200 per pair, The Ray-Ban Predator. 2 sunglasses worn by the agents weren't standard models. They were custom-made at $1,200 per pair with specific modifications for the film. Production ordered 50 pairs to ensure they'd have enough for the entire shoot. But Jones alone broke or lost 11 pairs during filming through various accidents and mishaps. The sunglasses budget alone exceeded $60,000, more than many films spend on their entire costume department. The cultural impact? After release, Ray-Ban couldn't keep them in stock. The film created a $150 million sunglasses trend, with the Predator 2 model becoming one of the best-selling sunglasses of the late 1990s. Secret number 27. The bug's final form required 200 puppeteers. The bug's true form revealed in the climax wasn't entirely digital. For wide shots showing the full creature, the practical animatronic required 200 puppeteers operating simultaneously. The coordination was so complex, they rehearsed for 6 weeks before filming. Each puppeteer controlled specific movements, legs, mandibles, body segments, all needing to work in perfect synchronization. One shot of the bug emerging from Edgar's skin required 47 takes over 3 days because the timing had to be absolutely perfect. The animatronic bug cost $3.2 million, the single most expensive practical effect in the film and one of the most expensive ever created at that time. Secret number 28. The film was nearly rated R. The original cut of Men in Black included much more graphic violence, stronger language, and disturbing imagery. When submitted to the MPAA, it received an R rating. Columbia faced a disaster. Losing the summer youth audience would cut potential box office in half. The studio spent $500,000 on digital edits, removing blood spatters, altering language through dubbing and digital manipulation, and softening the most violent sequences. The PG-13 appeal was rejected on the second submission, requiring even more edits. The third submission finally succeeded. Those edits made the difference between a $250 million gross and the $589 million the film actually earned worldwide. The PG-13 rating opened the film to families and younger audiences who became its most passionate fans. The hidden truth behind Men in Black. 28 secrets hidden for decades. From casting disasters to near-death experiences, from prop thefts to last-minute rewrites, Men in Black survived chaos that should have destroyed it. Chris O'Donnell's departure gave us Will Smith. Jones's pain created Agent K's deadpan. The bug redesign saved the villain. 4-Hour Panic created a #1 hit. Every problem could have ended the film. Instead, each made it better. Would Men in Black be as good if everything went according to plan? Maybe chaos isn't the enemy of great filmmaking. Maybe it's the secret ingredient. Which secret shocked you most? The Neuralizer theft? The collapsing set? D'Onofrio's heart? Scare? Drop your thoughts below. And remember, you never saw this video. Or did you? Protect the Earth. Question everything. Stay alert.